Okay, uh, this is where we can start. This webinar has been brought to you by Worldwide School, and my name is Piotr Święcicki, and we are going to talk about collocations today. So, what are collocations? That's something I want to clear up at first. You may have heard about collocations from your teachers, or when studying English or some other languages. In general, we could say that collocations are word partnerships, and words, just like people, and like some animals, are not monogamous. So words choose some other words to cooperate with or to be in a partnership with. So that's one feature of words, not only in English. They choose certain individual words that they like, and for some strange reasons, or for some linguistic reasons, they don't choose other words that they cooperate with. So some words like some other ones, and they dislike another ones, and the ones that like each other are called collocations. So have a look at this slide over here, in which you can see a few words, a few adjectives, and a few nouns: train, dark, shower, quick, chocolate, meal, black, tea, food, and fast. And this is task number 1 for you. Could you join, please, some of these words together? Okay, is there any, for example, yes, Kasia, fast food, right? But you've chosen to type fast food and not quick food. I wonder why. Maybe you just know this as a collocation, right? Is there anything? Black tea, exactly. But why not dark tea? So this is exactly my point. Some words like some other ones, and they dislike some other combinations, which could also be valid, but somehow they are not. So have a look at a few examples of some unnatural English. Okay? Quick train, quick food, fast shower, fast meal, black chocolate, dark tea. I mean, you understand everything, right? And anyone speaking English at level B1, A2, any level actually, will understand what you mean if you say, I need a quick train, or I have to take a fast shower. But somehow these phrases, they don't sound very well, right? So I have a question to you. Could you make this unnatural English a little bit more natural? Think about it. Okay, so if not quick train, then what kind of train? If not fast shower, then what kind of shower? Especially today, I'm dreaming about taking a fast shower today after we finish. You know what I mean? It's so hot, So yeah, have a look. This is natural English. So we can take a fast train and we can have some fast food. We can take a quick shower, quick meal. We can have a bite of some dark chocolate, and we can drink black tea, not dark tea. Why is it so? Well, I guess native speakers decide, right? Just like in any other language, we users of language, we just choose something that sounds better. Or maybe there are some other different reasons, but we won't talk about reasons today. This is not a linguistic webinar. We are going to be quite practical. So that's another thing I wanted to show you. Some collocations are fixed, like the ones we have seen. But some collocations can be a little bit flexible. So for example, rules. You can stick to the rules, or you can keep to the rules. You have two options. Or the word deadline. You can meet the deadline, or you can make the deadline. So sometimes there's more than one possibility. That's also good to know. Why are collocations so important? Well, there are at least 3 reasons, and there may be more. Reason number 1 is that they enrich your language, right? What do I mean by that? I mean, what I mean is that things can always, can of course always be nice and good and bad. These are three adjectives you could use all over the place. But if you use only nice, good, and bad, your English is rather poor. So if you want to enrich it, you may want to learn some collocations, some adjectives which go with some nouns, for example. Another reason is that if you use collocations, then your language becomes natural. This is especially seen or especially useful for people who have to write a lot in English or translate stuff into English. If you are in such a situation from time to time, I bet you need collocations. So you're thinking about how to translate a phrase, and if you are a person like this, I'm sure you have found yourself thinking, okay, which word should I use? Which adjective? Will it sound good? Yeah. So that's the second point, and the third point. With good collocations, with good word combinations, with your language is not only more natural but also more precise. So that's what we're going to explore today. There are many types of collocations. I just want to make you aware of them first, and then we'll focus only on maybe 2 or 3 types. So don't get frustrated if you see all the types, but I want you to see the full picture. We'll then only focus on a few of those. So first one is adjective and noun, right? So for example, a brief chat. Brief, adjective, chat, noun. Major problem, key issue, right? So we have already seen some of those a few minutes before. Adjective and noun, type number 1. Type number 2, noun and verb. So we have a noun, economy, and economy can boom, or economy can, increase, decrease, whatever. Or you have a product, and what can you do with this product? You can launch it, right? So you don't say start a product, you say launch a product. So noun and verb. Then there's the third type, noun and noun. It's pretty interesting, this one, because you have 2 nouns, and they are very often joined by the preposition of. So a surge of anger, for example, or a sense of pride, or a pang of nostalgia. These are interesting ones, but we won't be working with these today. The fourth type is verb, expression, and preposition. So, for example, swelling with pride. With pride is the let's say expression with the preposition, right? Or I was filled, verb, with horror. The girl burst into tears. One more type is verb and adverb. So adjectives, they combine with nouns, right? Tight deadline, for example. Tight, adjective, noun, deadline. What collocates with verbs are adverbs very often. So you can pull on the rope steadily, right? Or you can place something on the table gently. Or you can smile proudly. So verb and adverb. Another type, probably the last one or last but one, I don't remember, is adverb and adjective collocation type. So they were happily married. Happily, adverb, married. That's also worth noticing, right? Happily married, adverb and adjective. Fully aware, to be fully aware of something, to be blissfully unaware, for instance. And I guess that's the last one. Adjective plus noun, poor state of repair. That's an example. There are not too many of those. In today's session, we're going to look at mainly verbs and nouns, and adjectives and nouns. So we'll just limit this. We'll just limit these possibilities to these 2 types, and maybe some phrases as well. These are the abbreviations or symbols we will be using along the webinar. So I just want you to be on the same page with me. I want you to know what the V stands for. V stands for the verb. ADH, that's going to be an adjective. PHR for a phrase. And this funny symbol called tilde in English, it will just replace the word, the keyword. So for example, if you see this word and I'll show you an example. Behavior, right? So the verbs that usually collocate with behavior are influence. Can you see the tilde at the end of the line? So influence, behavior. Tilde stands for the word behavior. Or justify behavior, modify behavior, observe behavior, predict behavior, restrain behavior, tone down your behavior. Now, some verbs stand on the second place, right? So, for example, his behavior shocked me, or his behavior got worse, his behavior improved. And of course, there are adjectives that go with behavior: absurd, acceptable, unacceptable, annoying, antisocial, aggressive, and many other. In some cases, we'll also have a look at some phrases, for example, patterns of behavior. So we could say that this is noun and noun, right? Or standards of behavior, this is also noun and noun. Be on your best behavior. So we have a verb and a phrase with this noun. So remember this terminology, but it's not very important. You will see quite clearly what I mean in a few minutes' time. Okay, so collocations, as explained by me, seem to be quite an important part of a language. So how can you find them? Where can you find some sources of information about collocations? Well, you can always refer to a few collocation dictionaries which are available on the market, paper dictionaries. Some of them I think are digitized, but I'm not sure. So we have Oxford Dictionary of Collocations, Longman Dictionary of Collocations, and LTP Dictionary of Selected Collocations, which is my favorite. And what do they look like? Well, inside they look like a typical dictionary, but instead of definitions, you have some words. And here, you have a mix of words, and that's Longman Collocations Dictionary. So you have, for example, a verb, accept, to accept, and you have all the collocations that, go with this verb. Acceptable, adjective, nouns that go with it. You have also some nouns like access or access. Yes, it's access in here. Yeah. And you have nouns that you have adjectives which go with it. You have verbs which go with it. Well, it's a dictionary. Here's another one, Oxford Dictionary of Collocations, and that's my favorite. I'm not really sure why it is my favorite, but I like the fact that it's limited only to nouns. So you have only nouns, and that's the one that we'll be using today in today's session. So it's hard to learn collocations from a dictionary, I don't advise that, actually. I don't know many people, I don't know how about you, but I don't know many people who have learned a foreign language just by using a dictionary. So, but there are a few people I know who have done that. So I don't advise using this as a learning resource. I advise using dictionaries as a kind of reference resource. There are also some dictionaries of collocations available on the internet. Here are two, there are at least two. There are probably more. So you don't have to buy a dictionary to actually find some nice collocations. You can also check collocations with AI tools like ChatGPT, right? So GPT, what are the collocations for the word deadline? Verbs, adjectives, and I don't know, phrases. it will tell you everything. So that's another nice source. Dicky. Oh, thank you, Gasha. Right. I didn't know that Dicky has collocations as well. Exactly. Right. So studying collocations, what can you do? What can you do to study collocations? Actually, there are a few ways you can tackle this subject. You can always buy a book like this one, English Collocations News, Intermediate, Advanced. What's inside? Some exercises. It's a sound way to learn collocations. Why not? There are some other books like this series, which is my personal favorite, Keywords for Fluency. All of these are available in language bookshops. But my favorite method of learning collocations is actually not from a course book, but from something that you rather enjoy. So I would call it not learning, but noticing collocations. How do you do this? Well, imagine yourself reading an online article, like from a Guardian. You found an interesting article about motivation in language learning, and well, you just read it because you're interested to understand. So you read it to understand what it is, and then you reread it, and you start noticing those word combinations. So, for example, endless reasons, or success is rooted in something, right? Or what are the collocations for method? Fastest, best, most foolproof method. This is what I'm talking about. You're rereading an article, or maybe you're just reading it and noticing collocations. Maybe your teachers have told you this. I'm sure some of them have, that writing a word, let's say that, affinity is a new word for you. Okay, so your teacher tells you what it means. For example, in Polish, you take your notebook, you write affinity. Is that enough? Actually, well, it's a lot, but this it's sitting in your notebook with a translation. But it's much better if you add some context to it. So why don't you write not only affinity and what it means? Why don't you write feel affinity for something? Right? That's the full phrase. That's the best method. Or you can notice collocations just while reading books. This is pretty dangerous though, because you don't want to kill the joy of reading a book by just doing some collocation hunt. So I don't know. You may want to do this, but you may also want to read something for pleasure. But you could, for example, use this strategy with some books you have already read. You open a book on a random page, or you reread the book and you find some nice collocations like Hannibal Rising, right? Memory Palace, well-lit space, well-spaced exhibits in the museum, or incomplete archives, stuff like this. Their collocations are everywhere. This is basically what I wanted to show you. And now let's explore some collocations together. So what we'll be looking at is a few examples from one of the dictionaries I mentioned, and then we'll also do a little bit of a few exercises together. Yeah, that's the plan. So whenever you see this icon, it's going to mean that I'm asking you to use your chat to give me a few answers, or to provide me with some answers. These are two nice collocations for the word answers. You give answers, you provide answers. The difference is that one of them is more formal. And here's the first noun that we're going to explore. Accommodation. Everybody knows the word accommodation, right? If you're going on holiday somewhere, you need some accommodation. So let's use it as an example. And by the way, I'm not going to bore you to death with reading all the collocations for every noun we will have a look at. But here I will. Okay, so let's see what verbs collocate with accommodation. You can book accommodation, or you can hunt for accommodation. You can look for it. You can provide accommodation. You can rent accommodation. You can reserve. You can search for it. You can seek it. You can take accommodation. What about adjectives? Comfortable accommodation, good accommodation, high class, luxurious, permanent, pool, satisfactory, shabby. So many options, right? And there are some phrases available as well. So yeah, interesting, right? So many possibilities. And the good news, the bad news is that there are so many possibilities. The good news is that you don't have to learn them by heart. You will just learn them as you just by using them, you know. So don't panic, don't get frustrated. This will come in time, but you'll only have to use them to make them more memorable. Okay, the next one on the list, because I actually selected around 16 collocations for this webinar, and I'm not sure we will cover all of them, but I was just like, you know, going alphabetically. The next on the list, which I found interesting, was the word ache, which is very close to the word pain in English. I was thinking, that's an interesting one, because sometimes imagine yourself in an emergency situation during your holiday trip, right? You're in the ER room or talking to a doctor, and you feel some ache, you have some ache, or you feel some pain, and the doctor is asking you, could you please describe it? Describing pain. So if this pain, because we have two words in English, right? Ache and pain, they are used for different things. For example, I don't know, earache or backache, and headache, stomach ache, right? But we also have the word pain. So have a look at the adjectives. Some of them are similar, some of them are different. For example, dull, right? Dull ache and dull pain. Okay, check. But acute is only pain. Excruciating ache, it doesn't sound good. And what else is here? There are a few similar ones, but for example, shooting or stabbing, you would use them for the word pain, right? Have a look at verbs. There are a few that you can use for both, like alleviate, but not bear, but not cause. Cause and bear are only for pain, right? Yeah, it's good to know this, don't you think? Especially the adjectives, descriptions. By the way, you may have noticed that there are no translations here. I'm leaving this for you. This may be your homework, right? If you're interested in one of these collocations and in the adjectives or nouns or whatever, please look it up yourselves, okay? Because we don't have time for this today. So anyway, time for a question to you. The word advice. So what kind of advice can we have? We can have some nice advice and some good advice and some bad advice. Okay, 3 adjectives only possible. Could you suggest some other adjectives that go with the word advice, please? Maybe you could also throw in some verbs. So you take advice, maybe. What are other verbs that could go with advice? Someone's typing. Excellent. You can give advice. Okay, so you can take advice and you can give advice. We have 2. Wow. But there are more possibilities. What else can you do with advice? You can follow advice. And there's legal advice. Exactly. You see, there's a whole world of possibilities here. So you can accept it. You can adopt advice. You can ask for advice. You can, legal terms, comply with advice. You can follow it, just like Małgorzata said. Refuse, reject, you know, lots of possibilities. So imagine yourself writing an email and you're thinking about, a nice verb that goes with advice. You'll find it in a collocation dictionary or a nice adjective. Nice phrase, piece of advice, right? As well. So let's focus on the word advice. And here's a little task for you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 verbs. These are verbs, as far as I can see. And they need to be redistributed to the right sentence. Okay? So please use the chat and please just let me know which sentence you're thinking about, because we don't have to start with number 1. If you see a good match for one of the sentences, just use the chat and let me know. Sentence number 1. If you had my advice, you wouldn't have lost all your money. I guess Anna is right. It's taken. Thank you very much. Now, sentence number 2. Can I you a piece of advice? I don't know. Can I offer? Can I give? But offer would sound good as well, right? It's not only one option. But we have limited options in this task. What about number 3? Matt knows what he's talking about. He has a lot of experience in dealing with this kind of situation, so we can't afford to ignore. Yes, Anna, we can't afford to ignore his advice. Okay, almost there. We're not sure if our plan to start up a new fast food restaurant in this area is likely to succeed or not, and we would your advice on the matter. What's going to fit here? Welcome. Very good. And the last one, no mystery right now, I hope. Jim had no close friends, so he had no one to turn to for advice. We're sorry for him, but we're happy with the results of this exercise. Good job. Thank you very much. We can continue. So let's take a look at the word agreement. Okay, same story. So what kind of agreements can you think of? Let's think about adjectives. Agreement. Good agreement. Gentleman agreement. Okay. Good gentleman agreement, bad agreement, nice agreement. It was a nice agreement. Trade agreement. Aha, so there is more than just nice, good, and bad. Rotten agreement. Okay, I like this one. Rotten agreement. Let's have a look if rotten is on the list. If it's not on the list, then maybe we'll find something similar. It's not on the list, but there are some other ones. For example, mutual, tentative, verbal, wise, lasting, gentleman's. Oh, we see gentleman, but it's not gentleman agreement, but the gentleman's agreement. Yeah, crucial, mutual, profitable, provisional. So many options. But there aren't too many negative sounding adjectives that go with agreement, which means that maybe this dictionary is not enough. So how about using GPT, to look it up? Yeah. So GPT, please translate, and for example, the Polish version. So yeah, agreement. Good. Let's focus on agreement one more time. Task for you. If you don't know some of these words, actually these are adjectives. Yeah, all of them are adjectives. I'd like you to guess the meanings from the context. Some of them are quite easy, some of them are not. They may be new to you, like amicable. Maybe binding is new. Maybe tacit is new. Maybe unanimous is new. But I think that general and verbal, they are quite easy. Are there any people here who have seen The Lord of the Rings? Like, if you only have seen the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, you may remember this story about the rings of power, right? 7 rings to the dwarf lords, 5 rings to elven kings, 3 to man, and 1 to Soren. And this one ring in the darkness will bind them, right? Bind. So what Soren did with his one ring, he bound all the other rings, right? So binding agreement. Soren had some agreement with some other heroes of the Lord of the Rings, right? That they would make the rings together. Binding. Amica. That's a brand name, right? Of some household equipment. The word comes from Latin, and I think it means something positive, like amicus, amica, right? I forgot what it means, or I have it at the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to lie to you. Yes, amicus is friend in Latin. Okay, so maybe it means friendly. So let's take a look. What do you suggest for number 1? It's the best to get things in writing. Verbal agreements. Don't stand up on accord. Very good. Okay, number 2. Nothing was said at the meeting. There seemed to be agreement that the subject of the manager's expenses wouldn't be discussed. So nothing was said, but everybody understood everything. And that's the meaning of tacit. So it's a kind of a situation when you don't have to speak anything, but everybody understands that, yes, this is what you mean. So it's tacit agreement. Number 3, my wife and I came to some kind of agreement when we split up. Doesn't happen very often when people divorce, but it happens sometimes. So maybe they just parted as friends, So amicable agreement. Number 4, unanimous. Oh, unanimous will be used somewhere else, but it's a nice word too. There is some kind of agreement. Oh, maybe you were thinking about unanimous in number 4. I think it could fit it, but it's rather general. We'll use unanimous somewhere else. And number 5, it was not some kind of agreement in their view. What's number 5? What do you think? It was not in their view. Okay, so they feel they can break it without penalty. So you remember the story about Soren? Yes, binding agreement. This agreement is not binding. And finally, that's unanimous. A unanimous agreement is what is needed in some meetings, like everybody has to say yes, and then you can move forward. If there is no unanimous agreement, you have to stay until there is one. Everybody says yes or everybody says no. That's unanimous. So yeah, this is how you can learn collocations, right? Exactly. Right. Okay. Now, I'm looking at the time. I think we can definitely, yes, we can definitely have a look at a few more collocations. I'm just looking at the slides in here. Yeah, these are interesting because the next item on my list was aim, and I thought, aim, it's a good contender for us, to be on the list. But then I thought, aim means the same as goal, and they mean the same as objective. And what about the word target? What the hell are the differences between them? Have you ever thought about it? It's not about collocations, this question, but I consulted this with ChatGPT, and its answers were pretty, pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good is not a good collocation. I should think of something else. Pretty good answer. Maybe informative. His answers were quite informative. Or its answers. So GPT says that aim is something general, like my aim is to improve health. Goal is a little bit more specific. His goal is to run a marathon by the end of the year. So it's like more specific, but it's still kind of general. Objective is more precise. It's like goal, but it's a little bit more precise. Her objective is to run 5 kilometers without stopping, and target is like something very, very specific, right? The sales team target is to increase revenue by 10%. I think I like this explanation. And what I want to show you is collocations for each of these words. So let's not read the whole list. I just want you to compare the size, the amount of verb and noun, verb and adjective collocations with the word aim. Have a look. Quite a few, right? Lots of adjectives. More than 15 verb collocations. Now, what about goal? Oh, we have fewer adjectives in here. Some of them are the same, probably. Clear aim. Oh, there's no clear goal. That's interesting, right? But we can say definite goal. Is definite here? Oh, there isn't. So you want to use the word goal and you want to say that it's clear, definite. That's the choice you can make. What about objective? Objective can be clear, just like aim, but unlike goal. And target, ambitious, distant, flexible, immediate, prime. I'm thinking about a question you may ask me. What if I use a wrong collocation? What's going to happen? Nothing. I mean, if you use a wrong collocation, you will just use a wrong collocation. You will be in 80% of cases understood, but you know, this won't sound natural. That's the only problem in using a wrong collocation. In 70% of cases, what you want to communicate will be understood. If you only want to be understood, don't think about collocations. But if you want to be precise, if you want to sound natural in English, some of us need it, then collocations are for you. Okay. One last exercise on collocations. I have some more, but I think I'm gonna set them as homework for you. So this is our last exercise. We're looking at the word aim, and here are the options. These are verbs this time. Achieving, have, pursue, clarify, sets out, and support. Have a look at these sentences. I'll read them aloud. Maybe, when I'll be reading, you'll be thinking, you'll need something, the aims and objectives of your project. Our organization is committed. Oh, clarify. Someone was fast. It was Mika. I'm sorry, it was Sylvester. I used your surname, which sounds like a name. I'm sorry, Sylvester. Yes, it's clarify. I hope you're not angry with me. So clarify. That's the one. Number 2. Our organization is committed to something, its aims through peaceful means. Our organization is committed to clarify. No, we've used it. Support. I'm not sure. We totally reject violence. Achieving sounds like a good option here. Thank you, Sylvester. And number 3, some companies, something, their aims in a very ruthless way. Ruthless means something negative, like something bad, impolite. Have, rather not, sets out, rather not, it doesn't fit the context grammatically. It's about having these aims and, using them, trying to reach them. It's the word pursue. You can pursue your aims. For example, if you want to, lose some weight, there are many things you do to do that. So in order to pursue this aim, it's a rather formal word. Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked something. Number 4 is support the aims. I support the aims of animal rights. Sorry, I just spoiled it. But 5 and 6, I'm not touching my keyboard. The floor is yours. He's just drifting. So he has no aims. He seems. I think I've spoiled it again. I think I used it. He seems to have no aims in life at all. Exactly. Oh, and there's a spelling mistake here. One L is missing. Sorry for that. Yeah. We'll fix this in the PDF. Don't worry. And what's number 6? All parents receive a booklet which the meaning is like explains, it has a list. It sets out the school's aims. Exactly. So let me show you what your homework will be. Okay, let's call it a homework. Let's call it a piece of homework for you. Thanks for this. The words you will come across in the next section of this PDF will be apology. So we will have a look at some collocations for apology, and there's going to be an exercise for apology and approach. Lots of combinations for the word approach, especially adjectives, as you can see. Assistance and help. I thought that these ones are also interesting because assistance means the same as help, but it's more formal. So have a look. These are the collocations for assistance. And these are the ones for help. There are more. Maybe because help is more common, because it's less formal, right? So yeah. You can appeal for help, ask for help, beg for help. So you cannot appeal for assistance, right? You cannot beg for assistance, but you can receive assistance, or you can get assistance or give assistance. You see, that's the point. That's the point of collocations. Some of these words don't like each other, but some of them do. And another example is attempt. And I think attempt, let me have a look. It's almost the last one. So you'll have a nice exercise for attempt, a long one. If you want, you can try to remember the answers, because in your, I'm trying to think what I'll do in your PDF. Maybe the answers will be at the back or something like that. Attention. You can do all these things with attention. You can attract attention. You can hold someone's attention. I'm not very good at holding your attention because it's so hot today and it's getting late, and I don't have any nice videos. I only have collocations for you, so I'm not really good. I'm not really sure if I'm really good at holding your attention. So I'll just move on. And yeah, and the last on my list is attitude. And I'm thinking about some kind of tip I could give you. Tip number 1, don't try to learn them by heart. Don't go like, okay, today I'm going to learn all the collocations for the word attitude. As you can see, it's virtually impossible. I have 2 good tips for you. Tip number 1, try to notice collocations in the stuff you read. But don't try to find collocations when you watch a film, because the joy of watching this film will just be pointless, right? So reading. When you read, try to notice a collocation that may be useful for you. I don't know, maybe at work, maybe in your private life, and note it down in context. But noting a collocation down in your notepad, or I don't know, some notebook, whatever device or place you prefer, is not enough for it to become memorable. It will be sitting there, waiting for you to use it. So here's my general advice. Have a list of collocations. That's stage number one. Stage number two, find an opportunity to use them. So if, for instance, meet a deadline or miss a deadline or tight deadline is something new for you, you have never used it, you have only seen it in writing, make sure that the next time you will be in a situation, like communication situation, you use it. And I think psychologists say that you have to use a new phrase at least 3 times for it to become like super memorable, So noting it down, I'm sorry if this is bad news for you, but noting it down is a good thing, but it's not enough. You have to use it. Doing exercises helps too, of course, because you just, you exercise your brain, and that's fine. But using collocations, using the new ones, will guarantee your success. Guarantee success. I think it's a collocation too, by the way. So yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted you to, see what those collocations are. I'm sure you have talked about collocations, some of you at least, with your teachers. I'm sure your teachers will be very happy if you say something like, "Hey, teacher, let's do some collocations. Can you teach me some collocations?" They will be over the moon. If this is your initiative, because a lot of teachers believe that collocations are very important, like very, very important, much more important than grammar. So yeah. One more thing before we say goodbye to each other. I'm gonna be here for the next 5, maybe 10 minutes, but not on video. I'm gonna be at my computer answering your questions if you have any on the chat. So if you have a question, don't be shy. Write to me, but I'll answer in the last 10 minutes until 8 p.m. Thank you for the thumbs up. So this was a webinar on collocations brought to you by Worldwide School. I'd like to thank you very much for being here, and thank you for being our students. It's a real privilege and honor to have you here. So yeah, thank you for everything, and thank you for being here, listening to the collocation webinar.